man. That's hot, bro. That's hot. That is hot, man.
Oh, golly, man. Every time, goes and see everything, I'm just like, geez. 239 in this series now for quite some time. And it's great to have you back on. And it's just really awesome to see, so I want to say many, but it's been really like kind of that tight circle from almost like day one, right? Coming out of Key West, right after we made the move over, and you guys coming into, I mean, we had been almost a year, I guess, in at EXP, and getting connected with you at through the boot camp, and then just being able to see you guys get in the room at in Key West with that room, and you step back and you think about who was in that room. Man. Holy smokes. I mean, that was Gene and Gove and Kyle and Veronica and Beer. And I mean, just kind of the Curtis, I mean, just that OG, just foundation of the Honey Badger Nation. And really, you look at the growth trajectory of studying the company, and obviously when Gene came in, 400 agents, Gove came in at 2,000 agents. We came in at 4,000 agents. And it was really, that was it, right? Like, Gove had kind of broken the dam. And then when we came in, we just shattered it. And being able to see you and Levi and Dan and just that core of you guys coming in that were there in the room, right? I mean, Nick Krim and his brother were there. They were there working for Al, working the cameras, right? They didn't even they weren't even Nick Krim at the time. So it's really fun to see and see how far you come. And it's just, I'm proud of you. And
man,
I love that sign behind you, because I mean, I know you do, it is happiness, and the things that you're doing, you have found that freedom. And I know how passionate you are to be able to pour back into others to find the same thing.
Man, it's funny, dude, because, when I first got introduced to you all, it wasn't at that Key West. The first one was actually a boot camp. And I don't know if you remember, like, kind of being at that boot camp, and y'all did this whole ruler thing where you had like a broken down ruler, and it was like, whatever age you are, tear that off. And, then you did a life. I thought about the number of summers, the number of winters, all that stuff that kind of kicks in there. And I was just like, man, I really, really got to get dialed in. And at the time, I really wasn't looking at, the full benefit of EXP. I was still in production mode. I was still thinking about, like, hey, how can I grow my business more? I just came off of, one of my biggest commissions, as far as GCI was like 500,000. So I was really trying to take that to $1 million. And I ended up going down to, the second time that, I met with you all was going down to that Key West. And that's, like you said, Gove and, everybody else was down there. Still production mode. Like, I'm just like, I want to know how I'm going to be able to scale my business to, to the number that I wanted to get to. But they start talking about something different. They start talking about this rev share. They start talking about building an organization. And, all the notes that I was taking was different than how the notes that I thought I was going to be taking about how to actually build more sales. And I never forget, man, it's funny because Gove taught. And I always knew that Gove had this whole open house strategy, right? So, like, even after he spoke, we went to him afterward and we asked him, like, hey, man, so can you tell me a little bit more about this open house strategy? And, and you should have saw the disappointment on his face. You know what I'm saying? It was like, man, you're not getting it. You're like, you still talking about sales. That's not really the direction that you really should go. But by the end of it, that's why I like, the fact that, there's multiple days and you're pretty much there the entire day. And it's a renewing of the mind. By the end of it, when it was all said and done, I finally got it. This is the direction I need to go in. So when we get back, we start going to work, building an organization rather than trying to be a real estate superstar.
What for you, because I think this is where a lot of agents struggle, for you, where did that switch flip, and it's hard. They're like, but I got to maintain cash flow. I got to keep a foot here in production. And so I think, for you, how mentally, and then being okay with making that transition.
Yeah. It was hard at first. I'm not. I mean, I knew I needed to have it done because, like, you can't deny numbers. So you're seeing what Gove did, what Jay did, saying all these other folks. So I couldn't deny the numbers, and I wanted that freedom. I wanted that part of it. Um, so just kind of designating a certain time a week and being consistent to that time, that's sacred, that's my freedom time, and then increasing it. So it's like, it started off like one day, then we start off, another day, then start off another day. And then next, it's like the same thing with buyers and sellers. Once you start doing stuff and you start building a pipeline of folks, you end up talking to those people on a regular basis because everything's coming forward, right? So
Yeah.
it's the same thing with agents. It was like, as you continue to talk to agents on a consistent basis, now those people start to come forward. So now you find yourself having the same conversations, the same type of conversations on a regular basis. But the switch with the production part of it, like I said, it is difficult because, like, to be honest with you, you was our coach at the time. Production kind of took a slight little hit at first. So you start questioning, like, is this the thing that what am I doing wrong? That's really was the question I was asking myself. What am I doing wrong? Because I'm going down this agent attraction road, and you got to build it up. You know what I'm saying? So it's not an overnight success with that part of it. But the production was starting to slip a little bit. So we constantly made a effort that we're gonna keep a certain level of production. So maybe not the production that I was trying to do before, but a certain level of production to keep everything at a level, not to lose houses and cars, you know what I'm saying? but at the same time, continue to work on the freedom part of it, which was building an organization.
For you, where was that point to where, okay, this is working? What we're doing, this is the right path?
Man, so the first revenue share check was $100. So
still pretty cool though.
I was like, I didn't work for it. I didn't talk to not one buyer. I didn't talk to one seller. I didn't write one amendment. I didn't write a contract. I didn't negotiate. It was $100, right? So then it got to the point where it got to like $800. You know what I'm saying? Then it got to like 1,000. 1,500, and then, like, when they started climbing, I was like, man, I really need to pay attention to this because this right here is life changing. I mean, the average person, you just got to think about it. Like, if they get $2,000 a month, that's most people's house note. So if you can do that, like, that's life changing in of itself. If I know that the most expensive bill in my house is covered, it's worth it.
Yeah, and I think that people we tend to jump to the other people around us, and we see what they're getting, and then it's like, but we don't understand how long it took them to get to that point, right? So, like, I think I even shared this with you too. I was like, like, you look at Jay, and it's like, well, Jay has, 7,000 people in his organization. I said, yeah, but do you realize, that's a 6, you're like, well, we've been with the company for 6 years, 7 years. And then you're like, well, do you not realize the 15 plus years that he poured into the real estate industry as a whole, from just making the real estate agent community better by attending all of these events and pouring into other agents, being a part of coaching programs, being a part of Proctor, going to, all of the big coaching, programs as we were kind of coming up, and like pouring into agents, and then building a coaching organization, pouring back into more agents. And it was just, it's that whole, making deposits. And good for him. He made a withdrawal finally. And I think that's how you have to look at it in starting. And it is damn cool. That first check, that $100, right? Cover something.
That's what it was, man. And it's funny because like before I came on board, I actually looked at Jay's rev share check. Like, I mean, that's one of the things, other than watching the video and understanding the model and stuff like that. But you showed me the rev share check, and I was like, wow, it was amazing. I mean, it was like, I want to say it was like 25, 30 grand at that particular time, something like that. And then I was like, man, if I did a portion of that, that would be life changing.
Mhm.
And then like just kind of going down, fast forward a few years later, it's like those numbers are similar numbers. So it's like this thing is possible. If I can do it, like you really just kind of duplicating, and just following the path of everybody else. I mean, I heard Jay talk about, he talked to Gold, so like he's pretty much following that same process. It's repeatable. You know what I'm saying? It's a learned thing to attract agents. You know what I'm saying? It's a natural progression. It's going from a single agent to working with buyers to working with eventually sellers, and then eventually working from sellers to actually starting a team, and then get into the agent game. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's a learned process.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, we've, and you've probably seen the video, but our first conference, Jay and I went to see Jay Abraham. And, Kinder asked the question kind of, hey, what we're trying to solve in the riddle. And I mean, it took us 10 years to finally listen to Jay Abraham's advice, but, he said, I went and coach him. I would partner with him. And, that was the path that we were going down, right? The vision was still the vision. The vision was to partner with 2,000 agents. And I think when you have that strong, compelling vision that you have for your business and for your life, then you just start to look at, okay, well, what are all the ways to get there? And the path that we were going versus EXP was, okay, so we can reduce our overhead, which was 6 figures every month was our overhead to operate what we were doing, what we were building. And you throw in the coaching organization, it was multiple 6 figures every month. And being able to get a lot lighter and get there faster, then of course, you're always going to say yes to that as long as we're in pursuit of the vision. And that was what it was for us. And, modeling what Rob Flick was doing, modeling what Brent Gove was doing, modeling what Gene Frederick was doing, and then learning, proven processes from people that are even outside of the industry. And that's, I don't know if Brian was at the first Key West. He might've been at the second Key West, Brian Carruthers. We had Brian come in and we just followed. Yeah. He was at the second one. We just building an empire. The whole playbook is in building an empire. And that's, you want to see what, I know you're going to get into a little bit more of an evolution of that, because we took, the things that we learned working with Frank Kern, the things that of those natures, and the power of webinars and the process. But it's modeling proven paths, proven systems. And I think the biggest thing though, is that belief of what you shared, right? Is having that belief that people have done this. So I know I can do it. I just need to know how to make that transition and go through. Give me a process that I believe in, that if I just trust the process and stay disciplined to it and put in the work, the results will happen.
Yeah, man, I always make a joke about myself every time. It's like, in high school, I was a C student, and I occasionally got an A or B, depending who I was sitting next to. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, if I can copy off of somebody else and just follow a program or a plan, I'll do that all day long, and I don't try to switch it. Like if it works good for you, then it should work good for me. And
Sure.
and that's really what we've been able to do. But that's what that Brian Carruthers, to build an empire. That's what that whole thing is. Like, one thing that I will credit myself for is I really get plugged into whatever it is I want to accomplish, and get dialed in. I immerse myself in it. I listen to Jay's training tons of times. I listen to you tons of times. I looked and listened to Brent Gold tons of times. Anytime an event was there, I try to make my business to be there. When there was a call, I was doing so many calls just to get on Jay with a 3-way. But what he didn't realize, he tracked it, but what he didn't realize is I was on so many other calls with other people, because if Dan had somebody, I say, hey Dan, can I just jump on a call and listen? If Levi had somebody, I just jump on a call and listen. So I was just like really getting it in to the point where now I'm sounding like them and I'm using the same words like they're using. I'm taking the marbles out of my mouth, like they always say, because I'm learning the game. You know what I'm saying? We pay for Michael to come down here in Atlanta to actually do it. You know what I'm saying? Like all of that stuff, it changes you. It changes who you are. So really kind of getting dialed into all the stuff that we have available to us.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love that, and that's one of the leading indicators that we paid attention to, especially in those first couple of years of who was on Jay's calendar the most, and it was you, it was Levi, and it was Dan. It was the three of you. There was nobody that was on his calendar more than the three of you guys, and so that was to me was in direct reflection. And it's the whole, like what you just said, right? It's the sitting next to who you're sitting next to, and it's the imitate before you innovate. And I think too many real estate agents and the wannabe entrepreneur, or even the entrepreneurial bug, is that they want to try to innovate and they haven't imitated enough. And so that would be, kind of what I would challenge everybody. And it's a reminder even for myself, right? It's like, man, am I innovating or am I imitating? And maybe I haven't got to a point that produces the results for me to innovate just yet. So let's keep imitating. And I think that's just a great reminder for everybody listening in. Ask yourself, am I imitating or am I innovating in my agent attraction efforts?
Yeah. So like a big thing for me as well, John, was once I figured that stuff out for myself, making sure that the people in my organization was getting plugged in as well.
Mm,
So, just kind of, the Facebook group Agent Builders that, was created, like that was all based upon if we had a system or a process that was more locally that pretty much mimic the honey badgers. So it's
yeah.
like, and on Agent Builders, I mean, if anybody, that's there that knows our group, all the trainings, or a lot of the training, not all of them, but a lot of the trainings that the honey badgers have, we're just redirecting people from Agent Builders to the honey. It's just leveraging. So like, only what duplicates matters. So it's like, it's one thing for me to learn how to do it, but if this whole thing was to grow, and everybody in the organization need to learn the same thing that I did.
Yeah. I mean, that's such a great reminder. If it doesn't duplicate, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's also that, yeah, you can come in and be the superhero, but superheroes don't scale.
Hmm.
And if you really want to see growth in your organization, you want to see true growth, you've got to be able to, when you're bringing people in, you've got to be modeling that behavior that you want them to follow. And so I think, kind of the process that you've engaged, the process you're following, even allows some people to share their unique abilities, but it's still a duplicatable process of being able to go through. So James, I would love for you to just start kind of unpacking that process, that duplicatable process that you have, and how you're able to consistently, create opportunities that create conversations that, allow people to make a decision, to move forward and align or decide that it's not best for them. So would you mind maybe kind of starting at the beginning of that duplicatable process and kind of walking us through what, what you're utilizing, and then kind of what you're passing down to everybody that comes on board with you?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is like, I'm very scripted. I don't pretend to be the smartest guy or whatever. But if I'm able to have something laid out in front of me where I know what I'm gonna say every single time, and I'm gonna say it every single time the same particular way, then I know that I'm gonna be able to, convert people. And really, what it is like, it's no different than buyers and sellers. Like, you timing and motivation, then you're going to make an offer, right? So it's the same thing with agents. You want to actually find out, what their motivation is, where they're trying to go, what they're trying to accomplish, and then you're going to make them an offer. And my offer in of itself is tied into leveraging the people that are above me. So I always use like Jay Kenders, like one of my scripts. Jay actually took it, before is I'm gonna actually tell a little bit about his story. It's like I'm partnered with some really great real estate agents. Have you heard of a guy by the name of Jay Kender? Yes, no, don't matter. Have you heard of Michael Reese? Yes, no, don't matter. But Jay was number 2 in the world at Caldwell Banker, selling 530 homes a year. Michael was top 10 at Keller Williams, selling 300 plus homes a year. And what they did is they started realizing that they put the right things in the right order, you're able to grow your business really fast. What I started doing is copying those people, and I went from blank to blank. You fill in the blank or whatever it is that you got, whether it's coaching or whatever it is. They had a whole real estate model where they helped train agents to be number 1, 2, or 3 in the marketplace. Of course, they was charging for it, so now I'm about to put a dollar figure behind it. Close, they was charging for it. It was $25,000 a year, but they found this new real estate model, not EXP model, where they've actually helped agents. Without charging them any money, without getting any of their commission, but helping them to create an exit strategy. Now I'm about to do a takeaway. I don't think that everything is for everybody, right? Because both of us know that is not true. But this has worked tremendously for me and some of the other people that I've been able to help. If I was to show you what this model looks like, is that something you think you'd be interested in? That's an offer. Value, takeaway, offer. Yes, I don't get no's to that answer. I get yeses to that answer. 9 out of 10 people are going to say yes to that particular offer. So from there, it's just a matter of just setting up, okay, when are you available to actually jump on a Zoom, or when are you available for me to show you what this model looks like? So I was doing it at one time when I first started, which I think is key. I was jumping on Zoom with them, and I was actually just playing the Brent Gold model explain, right? And I'll watch it with them. And I wasn't doing it at first. At first, I was actually just sending them the video, and then I was having all these conversations about, did you watch the video? And most people didn't watch the video, and really, I eventually got to the point where I was able to send a video because I was able to articulate my value to get people to want to watch it, which was good. But initially, when I made that shift to actually watching the video with them, I got way more people to watch the video, people that probably would not have watched the video otherwise. But it was doing a couple of things. One, I'm actually able to see the person and how they're responding to that video. Um, I'm being resold about EXP and the opportunity all over again from watching the video,
Yeah.
and then getting off of it, and then just asking them one question. It's like, what did you like most? And they'll tell me what it is that they want to actually be sold on, and then from there it goes to, all right, I'm gonna answer maybe 1, 2 questions at the most, and then I'm about to leverage for a 3-way call. So, and that 3-way call person is going to be literally the the um the leader, or the answer to whatever it is that they say they like most about the video.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that is a sales process. It's exactly what it is. Right. So we can talk prior to, but that leads to kind of a setter type conversation, right? That's the value, take away, make an offer, set, watch kind of a pre-call, pre-close video, the model explained, ask a few questions, get them on a 3-way call. And like you said, the 3-way call usually aligns to their personality, their affiliation, their biggest challenge, their biggest constraint, the big thing that is like standing in the way of them achieving their desire, and then having that call. So like, if you think about it, right, that is a duplicatable system. I mean, you gave the script. It's like, hey, we're gonna have a conversation. I'm gonna provide value. I'm gonna do a takeaway. Hey, I'm gonna make you an offer to watch a video together. We're gonna watch it. It's a pre-close. And one thing, because I know this, and I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up, and is just a few little tweaks in the language in the conversation. But you ask them, what did you like most? Don't ask, tell me what you think. What do you like most? So you force them to go what they like about it. And for most people, what they're going to like about it is it's going to either help them solve their biggest constraint or move them closer to their dreams and desires. That's what they're going to share. And then now you have the anchor, right? So this is like what we, even for a lot of you guys listening in, working with buyers and sellers, this is negotiation 101, right? This is the initial conversations that you want to know timing and motivation. And because what happens, and it's the same thing with real estate agents, but what happens with working with buyers and sellers, they have selective amnesia. You get their real motivation, really what their walkaway is. And then you get their home on the market and they get an offer. And then they forget about their whole motivation and why they wanted to sell it in the first place. And that's our job to be able to bring that back in front of them. And so I think these little nuggets as you're going through is you're finding their real pain points, their real motivation, their real desires, the things that they're willing to take action on. That's motivation. What are they willing to take action on? And you got to ask these questions to be able to get it. And then it allows you to just, tee up a soft lob to the to them and on the three-way call to just kind of tee it up and let them emphasize a little bit more and speak to that in so much more in depth.
Yeah, man. I mean, like I said, it wasn't something that I just came up with right away. I mean, it was taking pieces from here, pieces from there, kind of putting things together, and just kind of rocking and rolling from there.
So I know you've gone down, the path and taken on, a bigger project, getting into kind of that webinar process. And, there's ways to kind of condense and shorten, but there's still always typically, no matter whose model, blueprint you follow for webinars, there's still kind of certain things that you want to convey and say and do and progress people through to be able to, at the end to take, or one, to stay on the call, but then to take action. So like for you, kind of unpack that a little bit. If somebody's kind of thinking, man, I think I need to add a webinar to my, to my sales process here. Like, what would you say to them about that?
Man, I honestly think just, being able to do a webinar, that's a big deal. It's one of those things that like now instead of you going for like one-to-one, because that's what it was before, now you one-to-many. So like that webinar is a digital asset that you're putting out there into the marketplace, and now you're attracting so much more people based upon your story and based upon how you operate. People, it's going to resonate with other folks, your process, rather than just some blanket thing. It's funny because that we was actually talking about that today. I got some people in my organization and they was actually looking to actually do their own webinar, and they was just talking about the story in of itself. And the biggest thing was like, it's going to be your story. It's going to be your journey, your process. And that's the thing that's going to attract. It's kind of like, y'all always put out there before about being able to attract buyer attraction versus, anything else. Like your story is going to be the thing that's going to attract everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And is your webinar, like, where does it fall in the process? I mean, are you driving like cold traffic, cold agents that don't know you, that you haven't had a conversation? Is that what you're doing to drive them to the webinar? Or are you driving everybody, that even people that know you, are you driving them to the webinar?
Yeah, I'm pretty much driving cold traffic directly to the webinar and getting them plugged in and being able to make an offer to them to actually meet with them directly.
So the webinar really just helps create authority and start to build a little bit of trust with you, that then leads into the setter call, essentially.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
And so
you got to beat your chest a little bit. That's the thing, Michael, what Woods talked about. I got to beat your chest. And that was something that I had a problem with at first, because like, nobody wants, you want to be humble, brag or whatever. But you got to put yourself out there. You got to put out what you've accomplished and what your superpower is.
Yeah, no, it is. And it's for quite a few folks, it's a little bit of a challenge, right? Sometimes it's a little weird until you start to do it and you understand the principles and the power behind it. And not falling into the arrogant side of things or the ego side of things, but it's just, hey, the best way that I've heard it is, here's how I'm ordinary. Here's how I'm just like you, but here's how I'm extraordinary and why you should listen to me. And I think that helps, right? It's like, okay, cool. I can demonstrate why I'm ordinary. But here's why, what I've experienced and been able to accomplish and why you should be able to listen to me. No matter what, everybody has a little bit of that story to tell.
Love it.
So, James, besides running ads and putting that offer in front of cold traffic? I mean, even before, like how would you approach reaching out to people to be even able to have this setter conversation? Like, where would you find agents that you would feel comfortable enough to want to even reach out to even start to have that conversation?
Yeah. I mean, just with anything, like, everything kind of just moves forward, right? So initially, I made a big list because that's what they told me to do. Like, make a big list of over 100 agents and start calling those people back. But at a certain point, you're gonna run out of lists, right? So I need actually people to be dropping in. So found out somebody was doing like a LinkedIn strategy where they were sending information and requests, based upon certain things to people in LinkedIn, and then getting those people to actually fall into my calendar. It was, start putting money behind that and paying for that to come in every single month. And then I eventually went from there to hiring another company where that particular company actually booked direct appointments. They actually called the people, got them on the phone, so see if they was possibly interested in the brokerage change, and then booking directly into my calendar, and then I'll talk to them that way. So I was getting people that way. So it just kept moving forward. So then eventually got to the whole webinar process, and and now even from the webinar process, I'm even tailoring that and getting that dialed in and getting even in front of more people, because now it's like an webinar where I'm not doing it weekly no more, where it's just somebody can always have it going on all the time. So and I'm sure that's going to change as well. So like you're just steadily moving down the road of making things better and making things easier. But I will say, at a certain point, if somebody can start investing, like initially, those the first 100 people, I probably messed up with a lot of those folks, what I'm saying, or a good portion of them, what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But when I got to the point where I was spending money, then I did a little bit better. Probably messed up with some of those, but now I really got it dialed in on what my value is for an agent that's looking to actually join and partner with me.
Yeah, and I think you shared leveraging upline, and you can add that into your offer,
Yeah.
and you can make your offer that much more impactful, that much more powerful, and that you're putting things in there. And I think where a lot of people get hung up is the fulfillment side of things. And what we all have to remember, our offer is just a solution to your target audience that gets them the result that they're looking for. So you're starting to think, okay, well, what type of results do I get? Am I able to get for agents? And maybe my offer is really good for brand new agents. Maybe it's for more seasoned agents. Maybe it's for brokers, right? Like what is that offer? Because, an agent that's just starting out or doing, a deal or less than a deal a month on average, they've got different problems than, say, a team leader that's maybe a mid-sized, large, or even massive mega team. They've got different problems. So you got to really be thinking through, how does my offer help them solve their problem? And so for you, how did you kind of settle in on like who the ideal agent for you that you would want to really try to have a conversation with?
Man, I thought about my pain. I thought about my problems that I had when, one, I first started out, and then two, when I got to a certain level. And, that's pretty much what I spoke to. So it was so much easier when I spoke to an agent that was in my same situation or similar situation than it was when I spoke to an agent that necessarily wasn't. So, that's really what I went after. I went after people that was looking to grow. Part of my whole process when I'm talking to somebody for the first time, I always ask them, what was your sales like in the last 12 months? And I always ask them, like, Sam, so what's the goal for the next 12 months? And what I find is that the agents that was like, oh well, I just want to maintain. That's not my person. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not somebody that I can really help or that's really going to be able to dial in, because that person's not looking to grow. So I mean, I know myself, my personality, how I am. I'm always looking to grow. I'm always looking to take things to the next level. So that's what I'm trying to attract, is agents that's thinking like me.
No, I love that. And it's the whole, we're best equipped to serve the person we once were. And so that's right. To me, what you just said, it's so right. How do you, like you said, like, you're not my person, or you are my person, but how do you let go of somebody that's not your person?
Man, it, all right, so I had to learn that, man. To be honest with you, so before I was just trying to attract anybody with a pulse, you know, and just bringing them on board. And I started realizing when they started dropping off, and you start having all these people to leave, or you start having all these little issues that you probably wouldn't have, or they're asking the wrong questions. That's really what it is. Like, if you're asking a question about, like, how much the $85 is going to be to be part of EXP, you're not my person. You know what I'm saying? If you're talking about, like, if you're not talking about growth, that's not my person. And to be honest with you, the way that I do it is just probably somebody that I won't follow up with. I follow up with the people that resonate with me. That I feel is going to be able to do this thing and do this on a high level, and it's going to be a benefit from them, because, like, you got to come from a standpoint of what's going to be good for that other person. Some people might be best if they stay where they are, and I'm okay with that. But I had to learn that at first, because at first I was just trying to get people rather than actually getting really trying to help them. Right? I mean, I'm thinking, like, hey, if they join, then they'll be able to help themselves. But really, that's the bad way to look at it. Like, you really need to be thinking about it as, like, all right, how can I get this person and help this person in this process?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And it is learned, right, to let them go. And it's the whole ripple effect. If you try to save everyone, then you're gonna miss the people that are really right there, that are reaching out, that really want your help, that you genuinely can help.
I tried to help everybody too, John. And you know what? You naturally gravitate towards the ones that's about to fall off, because you don't want to, quote unquote, lose them. And
Right.
now you missing out on the people that's there that actually want your real help.
Yeah.
And once that clicked in, it was like, all right, once they're not showing up, or they're not going to the things that I'm actually putting out there for them to go to, or they're not listening to what I'm saying. At that point, my hands off. I would rather just go find somebody else.
There's people, that are looking for you. And if you're too busy trying to save the people that are swimming away from your boat, you're missing the people that are right there, that have their hand up saying, I need your help. I know you can help me. And I mean, you got to experience. To me, even anybody listening to this, they're like, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense. But until you experience it, and then you try to save somebody that doesn't want saving, I mean, you just got to go through it. As bad as I hate to say it, you have to. To me, that's one of those learned experiences, because we have this belief, because I believe we can. I believe we can help anybody, but you can't help people that don't want the help. And it is, no matter how good your offer is, no matter how irresistible your offer is, if they don't want to do the work, then it's never going to be the right fit. And I think that's where, to me, in that setter script, where in that initial conversation, is having things in there to determine if they're a fit or not, and then being able to tell them, hey, unfortunately, we're only committed to work with people that are committed to working with us. And I just don't think we're going to be a good fit. I wish you the best of luck. Boom. And that saves you so much mental and emotional and resource drain, that the faster you can get to that conclusion, the better.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, I've been there with a few people where that was concerned, and the reality of it is, man, it's so much more fun. It's so much more rewarding when you're dealing with people that actually want your advice or they want to get plugged in. Like, I always use the example all the time. It's like, if I'm having a conversation with Jay or you or anybody else, but if I haven't done work, then I don't know what to ask for. Like,
Mm,
I don't know the questions. Like, I have no idea, right? Because I haven't been doing the work. But if I'm doing the work, I'm gonna come up and have new problems. I'm gonna have new situations that I'm gonna be dealing with. And so that's what. Now I'm gonna have new questions. And what I find is like people that have already done stuff, they're more than happy to answer those questions to help you out because now they're seeing because you have those questions that you are doing what you're supposed to do.
yeah. Yeah. It's that, I just shared, I was with, our good friend Brandon Town and his organization, training call right before jumping in here with you. And it was one of the things that I challenged him with was, and you've heard me talk about this, and it's, from Frank Shamrock's MMA Academy, the plus, minus, and equal.
Mm.
And, the whole concept is that, when you come into his academy, you've immediately got to find a plus, minus, and equal. You got to find a plus, somebody that's going to mentor you. And, coming in, you're a newbie, you're a white belt, like find somebody that can mentor you, that wants to pour into you to help you grow. And then you got to find, a minus, somebody that you can mentor. And, a lot of, especially when you're telling this to real estate agents, they're like, well, I just got licensed. Who can I help? Well, there's a lot of people out there that are trying to get licensed, and they're trying to juggle getting their license and their job to maintain cash flow, their family, their kids. How did you navigate that? You can mentor them, you can help them. And then the equal, man, that accountability partner that you're accountable to every day, right? You're waking up and you're texting them and letting them know, hey, this is what I'm doing today. And then at the end of the day, did I do what I said I was going to do? And man, if you can adopt that plus, minus, and equal concept in all areas of your life, I mean, you talk about acceleration and growth and just really expanding, who you are as a human, but your business is going to grow. Speaking here on the Agent Attraction, having that type of accountability and that mentorship, and then who you're guiding and leading, you talk about that's hitting the turbo button.
Yeah. And I mean, it's really like you said, like it's really just kind of just getting plugged into all the stuff. Like a lot of this stuff is already built out. Like when you talk about like being able to add value, it's like the value's already there. Like it's already been created.
Yeah.
Honey badgers, NAEA, it's already there. Like
Yeah.
you can add value in so many different ways. And I got people right now. What I wanted to do early on is I knew if I was going to be attracting agents that, I had to have something that agents wanted to be a part of. So creating that early on mastermind tribe, that was very, very key to grow because like we all met on a consistent basis. We
Yeah.
all was hearing the same type of information. We literally was stealing, I ain't gonna stealing, borrowing, you all stuff, and we was training that doing those masterminds at that particular time. But I mean, it worked. Everybody kind of got dialed in, and it just continued to kind of grow and kind of build from there.
Yeah. I mean, you nailed it. I mean, that's just the value equation, right? Like what you're talking about is like, not only do you have what your value is on a local level, right? Right where you're at. And so like thinking about people that align with you and they're in your market, they've got you. Then in locally, right? Where we can get together and break bread, FaceTime, right? Knee to knee. Then you got the entire organization of the agent builder community that you have. Then they have the Honey Badger community. And then they have the EXP community. That's all value. And for you, coming in and you want to create that offer and the value is understanding that you don't necessarily have to create it. You can borrow it. And it needs to be part of your value equation, part of your offer. And just remember, value unarticulated is value unappreciated. And I promise you, anybody listening to this call, you align, you can solve everybody's problem if they want to grow, if they want to plug in, if they believe that you have a path to help them achieve their desires. And you're going to collapse time, and you're going to, allow them to have less effort and sacrifice on their end. That's how you become more valuable. And like what you just shared, man, hey, we're meeting up every week at this time, and this is what we're discussing. Be committed, show up. Then you show up in the agent builder community, and then you show up in the Honey Badger community, then you show up in the EXP community. And it's just, there's so much value there. And it's just being able to, be able to put that in a format and articulate it is key.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, what we're doing, like we went like my team, we did a Monday meeting every Monday. And what I started doing is I started treating the organization the same way I would treat my team. So everything that I was doing with the team, training wise, I just started doing that part of it, and then just kind of dialing in. But that that consistency. I was only looking at, if I'm being like, when I had my real estate team, just the difference with this here model, because I know some other people, they got teams, but they're trying to put people on their team. And if you can do that, that's fine. Sometimes, but I don't think that's always the best thing. When I had my team, I was only looking at Metro Atlanta, and if I'm really being specific, I was only looking at a certain area in Metro Atlanta. Like, this opportunity here is global. You're able to actually have people all over the freaking world.
Yeah, it is. It's massive. Brother, I appreciate you jumping in, man. Always great connecting. And, I just keep thinking about, those two words behind you. And I think finding that freedom, and then understanding that, this is a vehicle that can get you closer to that freedom faster than what you even know or believe or think is possible, and aligning and doing the things that allow you to have that happiness. And it's definitely great reminders, and kind of that beacon and those decision filters. Is this moving me closer to my freedom, and is this allowing me, greater happiness in what I'm doing? So it's good stuff.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you, dude. Like, you really helped a lot, dude. Like, I mean, I talk about you all the time, getting plugged in. I never forget when I first came over, we had like, I think 2 or 3 agents that dropped off right away, and it was kind of freaking out a little bit. And you was like, where's the goal? What's the plan? Where are we trying to go? If they got to go, let them go. Like, keep your eyes on the prize. So, like, I appreciate you for like studying that ship where that was concerned.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I appreciate, you being a great student, right? And showing up and putting in the work, and it's just cascaded over into the organization that you've built, and really what you stand for, and the impact in the lives that you're changing. And it's really cool to see. Proud of you, brother.
Thank you, man.
Awesome. We'll see you guys.